Hello everybody, it is Al Knight, it is Brony time, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we returned to talk a bit to Tobias Gregson about what he kind of knows about the case. We then, of course, were directed to the home of Herlock Scholmes himself, and we met Iris Wilson, his 10-year-old roommates, who has a doctorate. She has a degree of medicine and a lot of other things. But of course, she then directed us to the Gary Deb household. Well, she directed us to Gregson, who then directed us to the Gary Deb household, who we have just finished talking to, and now we are about to go and, kind of investigate Mr. Natsume's lodgings. So, well, room, not the lodgings, but same thing. Kitty! What? Just look at this place. Smell it. It's so musty in here. Hold on, I usually forget. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me neither. So dark in here, too. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think, yes, once upon a time, but for some reason it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Scholmes lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Scholmes anywhere, have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Gary Deb told us, great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevasse between the mountains of books on either side. Suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by those towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Clever. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it, and the date of purchase? 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. It's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. Look who it is. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from? Seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope you won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Scholmes?
Ah, you two! Good day!
Now let me see, where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Scholmes, we were together on the SS Puria.
Yes, of course, the Buria.
And let me see, what happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Sogi. He died, tragically. But you were a great help to us.
Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh, well, you seem to remember something of it at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Scholmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo, and Mr. Suzato.
Try the other way around, Mr. Scholmes.
I lose the first round.
In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Saseki-san in that short an amount of time? I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past informants a little. A little. It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom. You know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Scholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression!
My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Scholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Mr. Natsume, yes, I believe it was a name rather long along those lines. Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Mrs. Otto, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? I can't believe you was looking Mrs. Otto-san squarely in the eye when feigning ignorance. I assure you, I am not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if a pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh, how? I assure you, I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. Ah, a man seen fleeing? There are a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books. I found myself quite lost in bibliophilia. I don't know how to say that. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garridem, a retired military man. It was the first time I ever met a soldier from the great British institution that is the services. It was the first time I've ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in the Great Britain Primer. And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standing, sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary! As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. It is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in this situation upstairs, specifically in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garrideb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstance of this case, I am yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Scholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax. Window tax? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family homes, perhaps, rapidly closed windows up. While the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere. In an effort to create favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust! Most of people live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So, some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in a squalid lodgings such as these, for example. Suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Scholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remember that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well, then I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Scholmes? Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room. 2. There are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, what is it, Mr. Scholmes? Tell us. I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns the property is hiding something. Mr. Garrideb is Mr. Scholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet, our investigation have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garydep's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room.
Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forgot his name, still hard at work down there?
Mr. Scholmes.
Ah, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid.
Well, Mr. Scholmes is in his element down there.
Jolly good show.
Another cup of tea, if you please, Joe.
Now then, why don't you tell me what— For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what you're bloody well doing?
I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir.
Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave if you'd be so kind.
Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck in all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out.
According to Mr. Scholmes, Mr. Garydep is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. Well, well, well. Ah, what's he doing over there? Mr. Scholmes?
Aha! We meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here?
Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. Whatever are you doing over by the window? I am given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madame. Yet sadly cheerful as the rooms downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye to one's windows at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, and one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about— is he— I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Do you mean, Mr. Scholmes? There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo? I think so. There's just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garydep, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements.
I beg your pardon?
The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care.
Ah!
And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Mr. Naruhodo, look! The old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievable, it seems Mr. Scholmes' conclusions are both spot on.
How could you possibly?
How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of the beasts.
Ah!
And I know only too well what wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. The game is afoot. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with a question: what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrett, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best, a fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts.
What is this piffle, I ask you?
In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house.
What?
Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence.
Well...
Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame?
Me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your chest pocket gives a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show.
Oh!
Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrett, at Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe.
I most certainly did not.
I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. Now, Mr. Garrett, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in the blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amidst fit of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage.
Nonsense, man, I simply...
But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment.
Oh!
for cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go.
Yes, well,
Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can clearly be seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Oh! This time, madame, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Excuse me? Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes.
Oh.
There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact.
Whatever do you mean?
Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There was only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction, this beastly puzzle.
God! What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garner, but I'm afraid I didn't notice. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too.
Oh!
Mr. Scholmes, sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation?
Why, certainly, Mr. Narhodo. What is it again?
Well, your deductions just now, do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size?
Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense.
But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well? But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garrett and his maid would have been hurt, or worse.
Ah, that's where you are stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon.
Thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea.
Ah, my dear Mrs. Otto, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea.
Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Narhodo, it's your turn to shine again. I had a feeling that was coming. A slight massage. That's what Mr. Sholmes' deduction needs. You can do it.
Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner deduction to step forward, Mr. Narhodo.
We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe.
Let us start again.
From the beginning
of Sherlock Holmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Hold it, Mr. Scholmes! No, but if... Oh, sorry, 1 second. I think I skipped something. I really didn't see this line coming. No, but if you observe Mr. Garrideb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in his room. Yes, something with a very fierce nature. But it couldn't have been a line transported from India. So what was it then? We must follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. What's this photograph? It appears to be from Mr. Garrideb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out his bride. No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. Wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there. The glass is broken, so you can't see the bride's face at all. But no amount of cracks could hide the woman's plump form. I think powerful would be kinder than plump, Mr. Naruto. Yes, she certainly looks that. There's a lot of horsepower there. Not someone you'd want to upset, that's for sure. Oh look, have you noticed her wedding ring? It's very large, isn't it? Yes, that's an unusual design. Looks like some sort of embellished sunflower.
Take that!
The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruto. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrideb. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Oh, indeed, surely any woman of such a powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late. The fact remains that the beast, which was so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Garrideb. Ah! The chilling chases and wild rampage are still very much in evidence. The poor fragile defenseless woman is beside herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Scholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Mr. Garrideb anywhere. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. Wonder where Mr. Garrideb's wife could be.
Take that!
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Ah! Indeed it does! That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garrideb's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garrideb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garrideb herself. Oh my word!
Well, jolly fine detective, sir. As you rightly surmised, this is the wife, yes. My Jane. Rather let herself go, you might say, but she was a bullycock compared. Ah, God!
Kinda deserve that one, dude. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct?
It's not right, I tell you. I was second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ.
Yes, here in London one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though, in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Garrideb has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garrideb?
Only in company, obviously. But listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please!
Now, Mr. Garrideb. Okay, this is the same. Mr. Scholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garrideb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. Mrs. Garrideb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he? Oh, how true! So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head there's some significance, it seems. According to Mr. Scholmes, Mr. Garrideb's pain is tangible enough. What could that pose of his really signify?
Take that!
Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garrideb?
Well, yes.
You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir.
Ah! How the blazes? How did you work that out, man?
Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us, even once. To keep your other side from view.
Well,
Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why are you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Didn't Mr. Scholmes say the bills were all for lion fodder? Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garrideb's wife. Mr. Narhodo, she's a person, not a thing! Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap round the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit a husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look! Mr. Garrideb is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh, no, so it isn't. It was a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. And look next to the signature here. Lip marks, made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any ideas, Sasato-san. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So this bookmark is actually a love note then.
Take that!
Yes, it is a love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here?
God! But I don't know the bally woman!
You don't know her.
That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there.
It was just in there, you say.
That's right. That's what I was saying. A likely story. Now listen here, June, old thing. I explained at the time. I bought this book at that second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark,
You mean? So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean?
That's right. That's what I was saying. A likely story. For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you've forgotten, is John. A likely story. Are you questioning my name now?
And there we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Now, in final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Outburst. This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. But surely Mrs. Garrett didn't eat the carpet? No, of course not. There doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray that this room is in is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true, so this is the last part of Mr. Scholmes' deduction that we need to fix. We need only to follow Mr. Garrydeb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer. Alright, let's see what we can see. Yes. The carpet here has been ripped to shreds, yes, and according to Mr. Scholmes' deduction, the tears match those made by an Indian lion's teeth. Oh, look here! What is it? If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks. Oh yes, you can! In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all. Let's rethink this with that in mind. This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over. Oh dear, that would be dangerous. Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing. Yes, I did notice that before. Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of the thing missing from its holder?
Take that!
Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away.
Scorch marks?
It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garrideb's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused a candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight, and the whole corner of the room in flames.
Yes,
The most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, the ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire.
Mr. Scholmes, sir. I salute you! It's those dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there.
And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material. For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems.
Don't know about admonished. Demolish might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt description.
Here we go again. And the carpet? Was that destroyed by a fire when a candle fell on the floor?
Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames.
You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you.
Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. You had to hide a mess behind that screen for the time being.
Over here, Mr. Garrideb. Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me.
And all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Gosh, then the wife started hurling things at me.
What a terrible sight it must have been.
There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride? Ah, yes. Your notorious love of big cats coming through again.
I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest.
So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast rampage. Mr. Scholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be described as a great British wonder.
I'll tell you, it was total carnage, flames everywhere, and the old stick in the full fettle.
Out of interest, what time of day was that?
Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see. Around 5 o'clock, I think.
So at the exact same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below.
Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment. I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing.
Oh, really? Mr. Scholmes.
Yes, Mr. Nahada, what can I do for you?
Well, I think we got to the bottom of Mr. Gyarados' situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances?
I can't help you there, I'm afraid.
What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew that the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether a secret would prove to be of relevance or not. I just knew you were going to say that!
Now, Mr. Nahada, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of two categories, those relevant to the case and those not.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now.
Sorry, visiting hours at the prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. No more time to think.
Perhaps you like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Gettydip.
Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you both very much for your time. Saseki-san will be waiting for us. I'm going to have to give him an answer. Yes, we will give him an answer to that, but that will have to be next time on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Wow, that was quite a meaty part, isn't it? I mean, we reunited with Holmes. We did find a piece of evidence that's relevant. We uncovered this whole situation, which supposedly isn't relevant, but I guess we'll see that when it comes with time. But thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content, especially more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Also, make sure to share the video far and wide on any of your socials. Help spread the series out to as many people's eyeballs as possible. So, I will see you next time.